The Alpha Male. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, continuing to explain to you all about narcissism, the dynamic between us and our victims, the different type of narcissists that exist, and, of course, the various manipulations, what impacts upon our victims, what makes it so difficult for you to understand what you're dealing with, and to get away and to stay away. I've repeatedly drawn your attention to the fact that one of the things that makes it so easy for us to ensnare our victims is an absence of knowledge and information about narcissists. Occasionally, I'm asked the question, HG, do other narcissists get annoyed with you for giving the game away? Short answer is no. Why? Greater narcissists have no interest in my work. They're busy about their own machinations. The much more numerous lesser and mid-range narcissists don't know what they are, and therefore they don't regard me as being a traitor to them. Therefore, they don't see it as me giving away the information. I am then also asked, but HG, are you not concerned that the dissemination of your excellent information is going to leave you with fewer victims? Again, the answer is no. I'm only yet still scratching the surface of the amount of people that need to understand. Whilst I've helped millions so far, there are many, many more that need to understand what they're dealing with. And I'll never run short of victims, not least because not everybody will have access to this information, but also, even if they have, they'll be going up against the ultra. So I'm never going to be starved of victims despite me disseminating this information. The fact is that because so many people don't know about narcissism and there is a repeated failure of those in the media when talking about certain behaviours to highlight what it exactly is, people are misled. They end up thinking that it's something else, that she's high maintenance, that he's got anger management issues, that he's a player, that she has difficulties with commitment. And often those are actually descriptions that are applicable to narcissists, but they're not used. And therefore people euphemize them. And they think that those people can change, and they think that those people can make alterations, permanent alterations to their behaviour. The concept of the alpha male is another instance of euphemizing the behaviour of male narcissists. An article that appeared in Metro, written by Kimberly Bond just recently, falls into this trap. She writes, holding a fat cigar between his fingers and taking a deep, ostentatious puff of smoke, Andrew Tate tells the camera, females are barely sentient. That, of course, is a smear and an insult. It would also suggest there's an absence of emotional empathy to put forward such a view. In his slow, estery American drawl, and with light glinting up the top of his shaved head, Tate continues, females don't have independent thought. They don't come up with anything. They're just empty vessels, waiting for someone to install the programming. Now, it might be that he's talking about Harry's wife, but clearly he's not. This is a sweeping statement about women, basically making up just over 1/2 of the people on the planet, to suggest that they don't have independent thought, that they don't come up with anything, that they're just empty vessels. Making such an observation, of course, is a provocation of itself, and is demeaning and smearing, but it is also demonstrative of a particular narrow mindset, which also accords with perhaps a low cognitive function. For example, by saying that women don't come up with anything, what about Dr. Shirley Jackson? She was a theoretical physicist who was the first black woman to receive a PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1973. While working at Bell Laboratories, she conducted a breakthrough of scientific research with subatomic particles. Her research enabled others to invent the portable fax, touch-tone telephone, solar cells, fibre optical cables, and the technology behind caller ID and call waiting. Mary Curie, the theory of radioactivity. By the time Polish physicist Marie Curie was just 44 years old, she had laid out a theory of radioactivity, a term that she coined, techniques for isolating radioactive isotopes, and the discovery of 2 elements, polonium and radium. She was the first person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes, and the only person to win twice in multiple sciences. Nancy Johnson from Philadelphia in 1843 patented a design for a hand-operated ice cream maker, which is still used to the current day. Maria Telcas, a Hungarian scientist who created the first thermoelectric power generator in 1947. With this technology and the principles of semiconductor thermoelectricity, she designed the first solar heating system for the Dover-Sun House in Dover, Massachusetts. Anne Sukamoto. In 1991, Sukamoto and her colleagues made a major medical breakthrough. They were able to identify and isolate stem cells. This discovery has been vital to medical advancements, including the development of bone marrow transplants to treat blood cancer. In 1994, US-born Grace Hopper and Howard Aiken designed Harvard's Mark I computer, a 5-ton, room-sized machine. Hopper invented the compiler that translated written language into computer code and coined the terms bug and debugging. Rosalind Franklin. Although the discovery of the DNA double helix is often attributed to Watson and Crick, who won the Nobel Prize in physiology in 1962, it was actually Rosalind Franklin whose work confirmed their theory on the structure of DNA. Rosalind Franklin, a British biophysicist, was the first person to capture a photographic image in 1952, nicknamed Photo 51, using the technique she had honed, observing molecules using X-ray diffraction. Maria Beasley. In 1882, US inventor Maria Beasley decided that people should stop dying at sea. People had been navigating the sea for millennia, but the lifeboats that existed at the time weren't an effective product to help in the event of an SOS situation. She therefore invented the life raft. Stephanie Kwolek. Although this invention from American chemist Stephanie Kwolek in 1965 was a happy accident, its discovery helped prevent countless other harmful ones. She invented Kevlar. The material, which is 5 times stronger than steel, is used in bicycle tyres, racing sails, body armour, frying pans, armoured car, musical instruments, and building construction. Those, of course, are just a handful of women that have invented things. Of course, plenty of men have as well. But then to suggest that women don't come up with anything is instantly smashed by just those examples. And there are hundreds more. Not necessarily famous ones, but there are authors, pop artists, there are leaders of technology, leaders of companies, fearless individuals that have come up with life-saving equipment. And therefore to suggest that, of course, females don't have independent thought, they don't come up with anything, demonstrates a rather low cognitive function, but of course a need to be dismissive towards those women and can view them in an objectified way. The article continues, "The misogyny he displays is so patently flagrant it's almost laughable. This must be a joke, surely. Alarmingly, it is not. Tate's ramblings have become increasingly popular on social media platforms, the oxygen for many of today's impressionable young minds. Clips from Tate have proliferated on TikTok's For You page in the last month, with videos featuring his highly inflammatory opinions racking up a cumulative 11.4 billion views on the mostly Gen Z populated platform. Now, so insidiously influential, Tate, a former kickboxer and Big Brother contestant who has been questioned on human trafficking and rape allegations, which he has denied, is more searched online than Donald Trump and Kim Kardashian. Tate has become somewhat of a poster boy of a new brand of influencer that has wormed out of the internet's darker fringes and into mainstream consciousness, the so-called alpha males. These men are fairly easy to spot in the wild west of the internet. They are a compilation of different facets of the toxic masculinity that has lingered in society for a long time. Brash, loud, and arrogant. Those are all examples of haughty behaviours and showmanship, grandiosity. Alpha men are the type to believe the brotherhood shouldn't cry, and showing any sort of emotion is a cardinal sin, the assertion of control. They perceive themselves to be strong and successful, talking about hustling and getting money, residual benefits, often spouting out pseudo-philosophy, no more intellectually nourishing than a nursery rhyme, and they absolutely categorically despise women, who, more often or not, are described only as females, erasing them of even the most basic acknowledgement of their humanity, objectification, demeaning, smearing. Women are split into a dichotomy for many of these alpha male influencers, portrayed as duplicitous harlots out to ruin your life, paranoia, smearing, and break your heart, or stupid simple beings enticed only by six-packs and stacks of cash in the same way magpies like shiny objects. Even the few good women out there, effectively those who are pliant and servient, i.e. under control and not posing a threat to control, are to be treated with a sustained level of suspicion. Naturally, alpha males don't expose men to the same level of scrutiny, with the playing field distinctly uneven between the sexes. In one of Tate's videos, he explains that men should not permit their girlfriends to go on breaks with mates. She does not need to go on holiday to be a hoe on some random table because her friend met some random dude on Tinder. Paranoia, insecurity, necessity of asserting control, triangulation, smearing. He spits into a mic before reiterating that of course it's fine for men to go away together. Hypocrisy. According to these alpha males, it's necessary to manipulate women in order to keep them loyal, with coitus often the end goal in their advice videos. Assertion of control, use of sex to control. In another video by one alpha male dating coach, men are encouraged to lie to women to keep them interested. Because when we're honest and say all we want is to get into your sweet watery guts, beep, beep, they're gone, he says. Because women are fucking backwards. The video has amassed over 120,000 views. Again, objectification, smearing, provocation, insult. Alpha males may have come about as a response to societal changes, when men now consider themselves victims, said Dr. Lisa Segura, senior lecturer at the University of Portsmouth. Who else, valuable viewers, has a huge victim mentality, one wonders? Her extensive research into gender and technology has shown how numerous men's rights groups on the internet, collectively known as the manosphere, are waging a virtual war against women in a bid to reassert their perceived supremacy, delusion. There have been groups of these men mobilizing for a long time to rally against feminism, challenge what they think is progress, and to denigrate women, she explains to metro.co.uk. Since the #MeToo movement, which led to great progress and strides when it came to defending women from violence and sexual abuse, there's always an equality backlash from groups of men desperate to position themselves as victims. They believe that society favours women, paranoia, victim mentality, and for them they need to strike back to reassert themselves to be back on top. Segura points to the current socio-political climate, with extreme views being presented in mainstream outlets, making them appear more normalised. There's a real narrative that some men feel like they're under threat, she adds. If you look at Trump, he positioned men as victims after #MeToo, and he was very vocal about men having a hard time. Elsewhere, the Depp versus Heard trial was an absolute breeding ground for misogyny. Things have been whipped up into a hysteria, and some men are basically saying women are out to get them and shoving it down people's throats. However, Segura is quick to continue that misogyny is nothing new, with alpha male influencers having repackaged old ideas that have been propagated for years, giving them a shiny new veneer to make them sound intellectual. Misogyny like this is a tale as old as time, she says. To me, it is the continuation of the pick-up artistry movement of the early 2000s, where men would prey on and manipulate women into sleeping with them. Sense of entitlement, use of manipulation, absence of emotional empathy, absence of accountability. Alpha males are just the next logical step of all these pre-existing groups. Richard LaRuina argues otherwise. The British dating expert and former pickup artist behind the cult video game series Super Seducer insists that a hatred of women was never the motivation for those looking to pick up techniques. Now 42, married and retired, LaRuina does concede, however, that he's put enough distance between himself and his past lifestyle to acknowledge major glaring problems with the practice. A lot of the stuff that was done at the time did objectify women, he admits, going to bars and saying which women were our targets. It sounds bad for sure. A lot of the language was horrible. But I don't think a lot of people necessarily had nasty intent. For many men, it was about trying to improve yourself and get dates. Richard's take on pickup artistry is certainly rose-tinted. Seeing as the practice encouraged predatory behaviour from men and has a strong link with the incel, involuntary celibate movement, a disturbingly large online subculture characterised by extreme misogynistic beliefs and a sliding scale of violent behaviour, with a slew of failed PUAs joining the ranks. In extreme cases, it has even led to murder. In Plymouth, 22-year-old Jake Davison engaged in incel forums before going on a shooting spree, killing 5 people and injuring 2 others in August last year. According to Richard, his primary aim was to help shy, nerdy guys, not unlike himself. He only had his first kiss at 21 to gain the confidence to meet women. He also points out that, rightly or wrongly, pickup artistry was initially embraced by the mainstream when it became prolific in the late noughties, not unlike the way some are celebrating alpha males on social media now. I was a dating expert on ITV and BBC talking about pickup, Richard says. My book was published by HarperCollins and Random House. There's no way mainstream publishers would touch a book like that now. The Game by Andrew Strauss was a bestseller, and yet everything in that book was horrid. Women are rated out of 10, described as obstacles. Women are outright lied to. So dodgy, but that didn't stop the book being popular. Now Richard is left worried about the sorts of vulnerable young men that he used to help being constantly exposed to alpha male dating gurus such as Tate. There's always going to be lonely men. The question is what to do with them, he explains. There's no moderate content aimed at them which focuses on self-improvement. Compared to the early days of pickup, there's a lot more anger out there now. It's almost as if battle lines are being drawn, and it's very anti-women, and I do understand how it's quite attractive to blame others rather than yourself. This content appeals to boys who are frustrated, and it turns them into angry men. It's quite worrying. Now, of course, many of these angry men aren't narcissists. They're invariably going to be normals. Possibly even some empaths get drawn into it. And of course, being fed this diet of you're the victim, they're out to get you, they're laughing at you, males are an endangered species, etc., is an external stressor that will reduce the emotional empathy of normals and empaths to the extent that their more narcissistic traits, pride, vanity, defiance, argumentativeness, anger, would come to the fore. Not making them into narcissists, but causing them to behave in ways which would be described as toxic. Sugira is dismissive of La Ruina's claim that there is no moderate, reasonable and non-toxic dating advice out there for young men. However, she does acknowledge that it may be more difficult to find when it is drowned out by stacks of uploads from alpha males. Again, many of these supposed alpha males are narcissists, and in order to assert control over an audience, they will create a lot of content and shout the loudest, thus drowning people out. The algorithms are so skewed, she explains. If someone is to type in "I'm lonely and depressed," or even the innocent "How do I get a girlfriend?", they'll find stacks of sexist and misogynist material. This is what's really frustrating. There are genuine problems that men face, but these men's rights groups that make up the manosphere are not about supporting or helping men at all. Their main concern is misogyny and justifying their hatred of women. I'd actually go further. Their main concern with many of these individuals, not all, but many, is of course the subconscious pursuit of the prime aims, asserting control over women, asserting control over their readership or viewership, drawing fuel from those responses, acquiring character traits and of course residual benefits, a facade of superiority, money, fame, which of course helps with the other prime aims. It is disturbingly easy, the article continues, to gamify the algorithms on some social media platforms to churn out whatever bile you like. For all of Tate's garbage on TikTok, he is not the only one actually posting it. The vast majority of his rantings have been posted on the video sharing platform by fans of his on-burner accounts, effectively flooding the algorithm until Tate videos pop up on the For You page. Gaming TikTok's algorithm is a worryingly easy feat, says internet expert and commentator Ryan Broderick. It's all about trying to promote a trend, he explains. For example, if you look at a dance trend, one dancer may have started it, but the reason it starts gaining popularity is because lots of other dancers post videos on TikTok trying to copy it. Effectively, if one account posts something and then lots of other accounts put up a really similar piece of content, that sends a signal to TikTok's For You page that this is a trend that needs to be elevated. Broderick continues that there is no shortage of content of Tate to choose from, as he regularly features on podcasts and clip shows spouting his inflammatory views. Andrew Tate is not smart or savvy, Broderick says, but he's figured out that there's lots of men who have podcasts, and if he shows up with sunglasses, smoking a cigar, and says the craziest thing you've ever heard, that clip will go viral. It doesn't matter even if a video is posted to critique or question what these alpha males are saying. They don't care if you're laughing at them. It just feeds them and they get bigger. Of course, laughing at them is challenge fuel, so it's providing fuel to those that are the narcissists, whilst, of course, they will then deal with the threat to control by either putting down those that are laughing at them or staying in a position of withdrawal. Returning to the article, what's problematic for Broderick is how darker internet communities such as incels and the alt-right can infiltrate these spaces through memes and coded language, which then serve as a gateway to their troubling ideologies. Already, videos by alpha male content creators have been uploaded with hashtags such as #RedPill, the false belief of enlightenment where society favours women and you can change the system. Videos with the tag have cumulatively reached tens of millions of views. Tate features in several clips. If a 13-year-old is on TikTok and he sees a video with a red pill tag or someone talking about it, he can simply look it up, and there will be a lot of men who will be ready to tell him all kinds of dangerous stuff, Broderick explains. He's not going to sit and read a broadsheet newspaper explaining the reality and the danger of these movements. He's going to look on TikTok or Reddit or Instagram and see someone like Tate who looks like an action figure and says increasingly damaging stuff. It's worth noting that TikTok has made some effort to remove or ban some dangerous or misogynistic content. #blackpill, the belief that women only choose partners based on their looks and a general acceptance of hopelessness, is banned, as is #femoid, a derogatory term for women which some incels consider to be less than human. But for Segura, the problem goes far beyond social media. These young boys may start seeing this stuff on TikTok, but then go elsewhere for more information, she says. There's so many unregulated sites and forums where it's a free-for-all. Hate speech is encouraged. So what can be done to try and curb the damage that alpha males and their potential entrees into harmful online communities are doing? Segura points towards the UK's online safety bill, which is currently on hold as Parliament is suspended and needs serious amendments for it to be effective. Gender is not currently included in it, Segura explains, when it is disproportionately women that are on the receiving end of abuse online, but that will make platforms accountable for dealing with the problem. However, it doesn't deal with the people who are actually uploading the content in the first place. We need to implement better education in schools so we tackle these narratives. Perhaps, I would suggest that you start educating about what some of these people actually are, and provide a place for boys and men to get support in the real world, so these beliefs just aren't presented as the norm. We're all too quick to look in isolation at the extreme things like incels or alpha males, but not the wider connotations of having these ideas of male supremacy and the misogyny readily available on mainstream platforms. Broderick argues that more sophisticated algorithms and more effective moderation against harmful terms is necessary. If TikTok wants to be the future of social media, it needs to fix its algorithm to stop it favouring distributive linked content, he says. If you can make a trend by just flooding the For You page with one guy's nonsense, it's not good, or a feasible algorithm. It needs to be sophisticated enough, so it's just not pumping junk at people. Banning TikTok isn't the answer, but it is about putting pressure on governments around the world to ensure that moderation on different platforms is up to standard. What has to happen is we need to see young people stop seeing them. We need to stop young people seeing these hugely inflammatory and damning stuff in the first place, because really, once someone like Andrew Tate is on the For You page, you've already lost. When asked for a comment, a TikTok spokesman said, "Misogyny and other hateful ideologies and behaviours are not tolerated on TikTok. Our investigation into this content is ongoing, and we are removing accounts and videos that violate our community guidelines. We are continually strengthening our policies and enforcement strategies as part of our work to keep TikTok a safe and inclusive space." And thus ends the article by Kimberly Bond, highlighting a number of interesting points. But notice a particular word was missed once again. Narcissism. Narcissism is clearly prevalent behind the concept of the alpha male. Not all narcissists are alpha males. The alpha male is found amongst your more aggressive type of narcissist. Possibly seen more with your upper lesser A or upper lesser B, possibly upper mid-range. Some lower mid-rangers that might think they are but actually fall short, and in some instances even a lower greater. However, of course, by labelling them as alpha males, people don't see what they actually are and don't understand the pathology that's behind why that person behaves as they actually do. Many of these alpha males, of course, are completely unaware of what they are and, driven by their own narcissism, believe everything that they say and believe that it's right. And even though, of course, pointing out evidence to the contrary, it is not going to cause them to alter their views, not when they label of alpha male, which of course is flattering in itself, and the platforms afforded by social media allow them to extend their reach to obtain that control, fuel character traits and residual benefits. So whilst Miss Bond writes what amounts to be a thoughtful set of observations about this issue and obtains commentary from various individuals involved in it all, she fails to identify what they actually are. She fails to identify that it's narcissism that is driving this behaviour. There are a handful of comments associated with the article, and it behooves me to go and have a look to see if anybody looking at it understands truly what's actually occurring. Somebody called Arnold Hedge writes, "There have always been knobs like him. We're not more worried because it's not a new phenomenon." Mary Contrary writes, "Described only as females, erasing them with even the most basic acknowledgement of their humanity, but spends an entire article referring to alpha males, erasing their humanity, I guess." Steve P. "While there is no doubt that the guy is a bit of a you-know-what and the opposite of an actual alpha male, This article and indeed modern feminism are filled with nothing but toxic feminism. Well, indeed that's the case, but Steve P's engaging in a bit of whataboutism, as I've explained elsewhere. For instance, when talking about the rise of the left and wokeism, there are narcissists to be found throughout all of the political and gender divides, and there are those that portray themselves as feminists who are indeed narcissists. Steve P writes, the article and indeed modern feminism are filled with nothing but toxic feminism, sound bites, half-truths and opinions based on what feminists want to believe rather than the reality. The exact thing that is fueling half-wits like Andrew Tate. Crazed Stargazer. All of their mantras will fall away when they hit that point in their life when they want to become fathers. Some won't, but for the majority, they'll feel like something is missing and realise it's starting a family. And ironically, all it takes is meeting the right woman. Even self-professed bachelor George I Will Never Marry Again, Clooney, did the do when the right woman came along. And unfortunately for these misguided males, the right woman will smell this rebel without a causal attitude a mile off and will turn on her heel. Well, not necessarily so where an empathic victim comes along. Somebody called I writes, this was always going to happen. We have had the soy boy brigade, male feminists, and now it's going the other way. I'm not sure how Twitter's rules work because only 2 days ago J.K. Rowling received threats and that didn't violate Twitter's policies, so why would Andrew Tate's? Chrissy, this piece of trash should be banned from TikTok. Too many young lads following him and idolising him. Some firm views there, but again, nobody recognising what's really at play. And once again, this allows so much of what we do to pass unnoticed, euphemised, and allows people to remain in the dark. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.